Hello, everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, I was born and raised in a small village located in the middle of vast fields, surrounded by a dark jungle that never let go of the darkness. That village had a secret that the adults always tried to hide from the children, but the whispers in the night, the anxious eyes every time the full moon gradually rose, were enough to instill a nameless fear in my mind. That secret revolved around the children. They disappeared, one by one, on full moon nights. No one dared to say it out loud, but everyone understood that there was something in the forest that was demanding the life of this village. When I was 13, I first heard people talk about that ritual. My grandmother, the only person in the family who dared to mention the terrible events, whispered in the dark. Every full moon, the shadow would wander the village. It searched, it chose, and the chosen child would never return. I shivered, hugging the torn blanket. In my young mind, I couldn't imagine what that shadow was, only that it was so terrifying that even adults had to avoid it. In the village, people had strange laws. On full moon nights, parents locked their children up, locked their windows, and hung spiral-shaped wooden charms on the porch. Adults said that this was a way to trick the darkness, making it ignore the house. But every year, when the moon shone, like a cold eye hanging in the sky, a child would disappear. People accepted it as an obvious truth, like an unbreakable curse. I once heard the lonely cry of a mother when her 6-year-old son disappeared in her locked room. She screamed in the middle of the night, but no one dared to go out. Everyone just huddled in the house, waiting for dawn, and then the next day quietly dug a hole at the edge of the forest, burying a handful of soil in place of the child's body. They called it a farewell ritual, but it was really just a way to hide their fear of the cursed ritual that no one dared to resist. Among the children who disappeared, there were a few who were my friends. Tom, who always smiled innocently, also disappeared one moonlit night. The next morning, his parents found only a pair of small slippers on the porch, wet with dew. From then on, no one dared to mention his name again. Every time I accidentally called out his name, my mother immediately covered my mouth and whispered, "Shut up, John, don't call. If you call, he will hear. He will come back and drag you away." At that time, I just shook my head and nodded, but inside I was a fire of curiosity that could not be extinguished. My sister, Emily, was the only one who was not afraid of those stories. She was only 8 years old, her eyes as clear as water, and she always asked me a series of questions. What is a shadow? Is it real? Why are people afraid? Why does it only appear on a full moon? I could only shake my head because I didn't understand better, but it was Emily's innocence that worried me. I was afraid that one day the whisper from the dark would call its name. That full moon night in July, the full moon was red as if dyed with blood, hanging in the thick sky. Mother locked both of us in the room, locked the door, and told us over and over again, "Don't look out the window. No matter what you hear, don't open your eyes." Emily was still naughty, whispering, "What if I really see shadow?" I was angry, threatening to tell my mother, but deep inside, I couldn't help but want to know the truth. In the middle of the night, when the dog howled in the distance, I heard strange footsteps outside the alley, slow, dragging, like something heavy was moving. The vague whisper crept in through the crack in the door. "Emily, Emily. I hugged my sister tightly in fear, but strangely, Emily didn't cry. It raised its head to look at me, its eyes wide open, sparkling with the moonlight, filtering through the crack. "Brother John," it called me. My sister's voice trembled and was full of fascination, as if hypnotized. I panicked and covered her ears, but the call still echoed in my head, clearer than ever, and I realized it was not just a whisper, but a summoning, part of the strange ritual that the whole village had endured. That night, I knew the darkness out there had chosen Emily. I couldn't sit still and wait. I looked at my sister, saw her eyes gradually clouded, lifeless as if she was dreaming in a dream. I knew that if I didn't do anything, when the moon set, my sister would no longer be here. And so, for the first time in my life, I decided to open the door and step outside, facing the shadow that the whole village had always avoided. But what I saw on the porch was beyond the endurance of a 13-year-old child. A tall, thin figure, as hazy as smoke, stood motionless. No face, just a black void, like an endless pit. It raised its hand towards Emily, as if waiting. I screamed, and Emily suddenly smiled. The story of the disappearance begins that night. And to find out what happened when I followed that shadow, you will have to watch the next episode.